And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Now you gotta say that the cover for Dojo Kun is kind of epic. This one guy's turning into a bear fighting against this old guy here who seems to be attacking him with his beard, and another shot of hair that's coming out of who knows where. This is a worker placement game in which players are going to own a master or be a master who's training students who are then going to go fight in a tournament. What is this based on? It could be based on Karate Kid or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or so many variations of this. That's what this game is, and each master has a different style of fighting. Whose fighter will reign victorious? Let's find out. The game takes place over the course of 6 rounds. Well, it's technically 8, because after the first 3, you will have the first tournament. And then you'll have another 3 rounds, and then the second tournament. Each player is going to have fighters that are competing in the tournament, and depending on, there's going to be 8 fighters in each tournament, and depending on where you end is how many points you will get. And points are how you win this game. There are other ways to get points also. Each player is going to have a player board here, which has their master of their dojo, and then they're going to get a card that's going to be kind of their first person that they start with. This is their first fighter that they're going to be training with. So you have 4 different ones. Each has a different style that they are good at fighting with. And so you will take that person. So for example, here's my dojo master, and her first student is Chen Zi. And as the game goes by, you have a possibility of adding more boards and getting up to 4 total fighters. Now the way the game works is you have a token that represents your master, and you'll have a token that represents your first fighter, and if you get more fighters, you'll have more tokens for those. And players will take turns, starting with the first player during each of the 3 preliminary rounds before a tournament, and they're going to take these pieces and they're going to place them on the board. They can place them on their own player board, or they can place them on the main board. If a spot shows an octagon, then only the master can go there. If a spot shows a circle, only a fighter can go there. And if a spot shows both, like for example, this one here, your master and your fighter number 1, either one of those can go there. Now what you're going to be doing in this game is you're trying to get your fighters trained up and get them up and ready for speed. So one of the things you can do is you can train. I could put a fighter here, and this will give him some chi. The game lets you use chi for various things, so I'd put one of these tokens on him, and then he can get chi and go up a level in green, or he can go up a level in blue, and each of the colors stands for different things. Let's say I put my token there and decided that I was going to go up a level in blue. I would place this 2 here on top of the blue. So now he's a level 2 in blue and a level 1 in green. And you're going to have many different ways to increase your level over the course of the game. On this board, you'll be able to, your master can come and you can get more fighters. Fighters have different stats on them. You can see here at the top, some of them are going to be worth points at the end of the game. They will have different starting stats. Some of them, when you get them, will start with a certain amount. Like for example, if you start with Wu Ong Len here, you'll get 3 ki that's placed on them. And they each have a special ability, or not all of them, but many of them do. For example, TJ Balls can use 3 ki and take a block and a hold and turn them into a hit. The game has essentially 2 halves, and everything is split into 2 halves. So the fighters that come out in the second half are going to be more powerful. You'll also notice that all these fighters are different things, from Street Fighter to popular cartoons, etc. You can go here to take tiles. When you take tiles, you'll be able to add more training areas to your dojo. So going here will get you that tile. For example, I might want to take this tile. It gives me 2 ki and lets me go up 1 any level I want. However, this one loses me 2 points at the end of the game. So that one's really good. I might want to take this one here that just lets me go up 1 level and in the gray die, and it's worth 1 point at the end of the game. Over here, in this spot here, is where I can add those extra boards so I can get more fighters into my area. Players will also be able to go here. They can train with a master where they'll be able to give up ki and get like basically a free hit or a free block or a free hold or a free kick. They can go here just to get points and more ki. Over here is more ways to get ki. And then they can go here to these spots and get special abilities. Like here's Hayuken that you can use, and more of these will come out each turn. Or they can go on adventure quests over here, which can turn into points at the end of the game. Players can also go to this spot here, which will let them go first in the next round, because going first is not a bad thing. But they can also take one of these tiles. These tiles are useful because in a tournament, whoever holds these tiles is going to be able to determine who their opponent is. In a tournament, each player is going to choose one of their fighters, and they're going to put these fighters are going to be randomly placed out here on these starting dots here. Then whoever is number 1, let's say maybe green number 2, he can pick his starting opponent. So maybe he knows that fighter 2 for red is pretty weak, so he'll pick his spot. Then whoever took number 2, and if no one took him, then they're randomly placed. But this is the way the tournament is. These two will fight, the winner goes up, each person will go up, then one of those people will win. If you happen to own both fighters, you choose who wins, and then there's a big battle, and that person wins. And that's, again, a main point of how you get points over the course of the game. How does a fight work? Now, before a fight, each player is going to decide which player they want to win. One player is going to have the white color, there's a black color, that will be determined. The other players who are not involved are going to determine who's going to win, and if they're correct, they're going to get a victory point. So let's say here's some two fighters. We got Pao Cheng here against King Rao, and they both have up their stats. And we're going to play, they have no special abilities for now, but you can use special abilities in a battle. And so King Rao is going to get 2 red dice, 2 blue dice, 3 gray dice, and 2 green dice. Pao Cheng here is going to get 1 blue, 3 reds, 2 grays, and a green. So both of them are going to roll. And here, King Rao rolls his. And then they're going to count what they got on these. Sometimes it will give them ki that they'll place on their figures, and you can sometimes use that ki for special abilities or to use your special powers. But you're mostly going to be counting up the number of kicks, the number of jumps, the number of holds, the number of blocks, and the number of hits. So here, each player, I've marked what they have on this track here. So the first thing you do is you need to resolve and see who wins the fight. You look at your jumps. The white player has no jumps. The black player has 2 jumps, so he reduces that by 2, which reduces his opponent's holds by 2. Now we look at both of their holds. The black player has 3 holds, so that reduces this blocks by 3. Over here he has 4 holds, which reduces his blocks by 4, so he's down to 1 block. The white player has no blocks, so the 5 hits are not reduced. The black player has 1 block, so the 3 hits the white player has is reduced to 2. The black player has 5 hits, the white player has 2 hits, the black player wins. If it's a tie, which is a bad thing for both players, they will each take a wound, which means they go down in 1 level, and they fight again until the tie, someone wins the tie. But that's going to follow them through the rest of the tournament also. That's how fighting works. You would do this the whole game. After the second tournament, you'll have points for the different things that you've bought. For some fighters get points, special abilities get points, adventures get points, points you've collected over the course of the game, points for winning the tournament. Most points is the winner. Okay, let's talk about theme and components first. The dice are really well done. I like the dice. They're nice. It's easy to tell what color they are. There's a little card that tells you all the different things on each die. For example, the red die has more hits than the blue die does. The green die also has different hits. They all have different variations. So basically, more dice is better. The boards are nice. The artwork is great. I mean, obviously, they're going to parody a lot of stuff. You saw TJ Balls is basically Hulk Hogan, and there's people from Dragon Ball Z and Street Fighter, and okay, that's fun. I mean, I like the different parodies that are in there. The little tokens are a little too small. The key tokens and the level tokens, there's just a lot of tiny little tokens in this game. And while I understand this fighting thing, and once you play it, it makes sense, it does take sliding these things around. I almost wish there was a better way than this board. It's not that it's complicated, but it looks complicated. It looks kind of convoluted, and it's not. I do wonder, though, how much of it, and I guess I'm veering off into that territory, but I wonder how much of that combat could simply have been reduced to a few die rolls. I don't know. I mean, well, it is just one die roll, but you're checking this against this, against this, against this. I wonder how much that matters. Now, it matters more. I showed you a very straight fight. If you have special abilities, you might be able to do this to change this to a hit, which could win you the battle. So you have to keep that in mind. Theme, great. It really does feel like you're training people. I mean, try to play this song without singing "You're the Best Around" or humming some of the Street Fighter music or Mortal Kombat music, because it's going to happen, and it's good. And while the theme is good and strong, I mean, the tournaments work really well. The mechanisms of the game are good too. I mean, do you want to hire more? You want to get more people into your team as soon as possible, just so you have more fighters. You can have the 4 fighters, but only 2 of them are going in the tournament. It's possible a guy who went to the first tournament doesn't go to the second because you got a guy who's better now. And then you got to train them. Each person can initially train them in their color, red, blue, green, blue, green, and gray, which stands for their thing, whether it's judo or karate or what have you, or taekwondo. You are training them in that thing. So you start like a little bit different than everybody else, but as time goes by, maybe you really want to train in judo, so you take the different training things. Maybe you get a guy who's really good and has a special attack where he can change things into a bunch of blocks. Or maybe you just have someone who's on your thing and he doesn't actually fight in a tournament, but he goes off on adventures. Now, winning the tournament, that's good. You might win the game, but you might not either. You might only win the tournament and other people have points from different characters and the guy who gets second place wins. But if you win a tournament, there's a good shot you win the game, and I think that's legitimate, right? I mean, all those coming in second, Rocky, isn't necessarily bad. The gameplay is not very long. This game is a little over an hour once you know what you're doing, probably 90 minutes the first time, but it plays smoothly. I think it plays best with 4. You can play with fewer than 4, but then the betting on other people's fights is not nearly as interesting. And then you got to use neutral people in the fights, and who wants the neutral people to win? 4 players is really best for this game. But I love the marrying of theme to mechanisms. It worked really well together. The artwork and everything really brought that out also, but it's a solid style game. If you like worker placement games, I think you will enjoy Dojo Kun. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.